So it's a great honor to introduce Les Hoffman, who is a fellow Eagle Group board member and also a patron saint of job seekers. And we're grateful to have Les to present on veteran value, getting paid for your purpose. Les, do you want to introduce yourself and the topic?
Excellent. So yeah, it's Les Hoffman, longtime Eagle Group member. I'm going to stop my video real quick and switch to sharing my screen so that you can see the presentation. But this is a topic that has come up in quite a few discussions. Can someone just confirm they can see my screen or when they can see it?
Starting now. Now we can see it.
Excellent. So let me go to the beginning and then share, turn it on. Boom. And we should be rocking and rolling, right?
Perfect.
Excellent. So yeah, this is, again, from Eagle Group and coaching. Purpose always comes up in almost every meeting and in every coaching session I've come up with, and even more so for veterans. And it's such a critical item. Again, in the military, we serve as a purpose. We defend and uphold the Constitution of the United States, right? And in more so, that comes even evident in times of challenging, right? But then when we turn this into, the business world, does that still stick? Does that change? Does it get redefined, right? So again, my goal in this is I think that at least I've got an interesting approach. We're not able to cover down on everything, but I think that there's some vantage points and some key items that you can take away from this. And again, in the Veteran Value Series, it's not only for job seekers, but for folks that are looking to get promoted, move up in growth. So again, I think this is a continual learning item. So going into it, again, I know we have a short amount of time to cover on a very expanded topic, but like usual, I like to go into the definition, right? The complexity. And then we'll cover down a little bit on corporations. There needs to be a tie-in into essentially what links this to business, right? And the last thing, if you don't know me, is I do like seeing veterans get paid what they're worth, right? So let's go through it. Again, do what you love, right? And again, I have some issues with that statement, but maybe it's more true than not. From a complexity standpoint, again, what if I have multiple purposes? I think some of the explanations are a little too finite for me. What does this have to do with my career, right? And sometimes we break these down into bite-sized pieces, but not pull them back together. And again, the last thing is I hope that folks can take some of this, leverage it, and continue their discussion with Eagle Group resources, right, to continue to go on. So with any good things, when we're talking about purpose, let's get a definition, right? And you can read this for yourself. I think that the first thing that hits people when we're talking about purpose is really like meaning of life, right? Life fulfillment, helping others, making an impact, contributing to positive change. The problem is that, unfortunately, this definition doesn't give us much help, right? And it doesn't get us further down the road, really. So, I look at this, right? Do what you love. And again, very famous people have their own renditions about what this means and how to approach it, right? It sounds great, right? Very simple. Do what you love. Hey, man, I love doing what I love, right? Problem solved. Unfortunately, when you really get into it and you have discussions, right, when it comes to your job, life fulfillment, meaning, right, it's not very descriptive. So it can lead you down a path that maybe is helpful, maybe not. What if I love making money, right? What if I love it when I'm not working? Well, that seems very contradictory, right? Maybe I love it when other people just give me money, right, for my birthday. Can I just do that? Will success and money really follow if I do what I love, right? So again, very elusive. Sometimes it's contradictory if you really get into it. It doesn't account for folks in their literal version of this that have failed, right? And sometimes we call the majority of those folks entrepreneurs, right? They've had to learn the hard way. And it doesn't account for maybe the majority of us that are looking for work where, again, we're not entrepreneurs and we're looking to fill into a system and still have a very meaningful career. So the main problem is again, with this one, folks are still not getting closer to an actionable path, which is not good.
Ah,
Right? So what I've found is the purpose Venn diagram. Again, I cite the sources here. And again, not all these, again, are attributed to the Eagle Group. So I would say that, again, these are hopefully things that you can take away. But again, they're not endorsed by necessarily Eagle Group. But what you see here is a little bit more complex. I'll let you take a look at it. But what I often hear from folks is they end up saying that they have a lot of different purposes, right? And they feel like they're challenged in putting energy behind all of them. And what I like about this just diagram, even though it's a little complex, is it does a good job of explaining and defining purpose in a more meaningful way, right? Passion, mission, vocation, and so forth. So I personally like how it links the different impact areas together with more of a description, right? But still holds it all together, right? Even more so, right? I think we feel more strongly about different elements under different circumstances, meaning that sometimes it's not just a, great, oh, a little feedback there. It's not just a symmetric clover leaf. Sometimes what we love, right, and what the world needs might be just, overfilling our cup. But, your strengths and what you get paid for might not be. This first one might be a great example of how we feel when we're getting out of the military, right? I was great at what I did before, but now going into the business world, maybe I don't feel so strong about my strengths. Maybe I'm not exactly sure that I'm going to get paid for my expertise and what I love to do, right? And maybe this is a great representation of how we actually feel. Or let's say that we've been in a role for a while, right? And we feel undervalued, right? And that affects what we love. You still have a lot of strengths and still have world needs out there, but I think this is more representative of, again, that ever-changing model of not only purpose, but how we feel about it and where we're at, maybe even in our own personal life cycles. And this should give us that propensity or that itch for change, an upward movement. Now, I talk about changes over a lifetime. And again, I've had multiple discussions with many layerings of this. And I want to keep it pretty simple because I think it paints a valuable picture. I'm a firm believer that purposes change over time. I also believe our efforts must precede or match that change, meaning that, if we have multiple items in life, right, and we have to guesstimate what that compensation is, we should be making those moves, right, to coincide with that. What I mean is, this might be over time what we need to make, right? And that may affect what we do or how we take on our careers or jobs and so forth, right? It's not exact, but I wanted to illustrate some points, right? And when we talk about, the life, our own life, and again, I just drew out some points here, and you can see that, again, maybe this is not closely tied to everybody, but you can see the ups and downs of it, right? And what it's doing is, linking that and making it to the forefront. What I don't like about some conversations or even some of the folks that have come to me after other coaching is that separating compensation from your purpose might be doing a disservice, right? And what I like to do, or at least attempt to do, is address that head on. And I think you get the point through this. Now, keeping that, those changes in mind, and also kind of your own purpose diagram, I go, well, can we also link all this to your career, right? How do we tie this to the business side? It's been pretty focused on the individual, right? But can we take the same approach regarding companies, right? Can this work? What you'll see here is I've changed some of the nuances, some of the verbiage, right? You'll see that, products and services replace revenues, right? But again, the world needs and all these things kind of overlap. I mean, if you were to think of a company as a person, can this work? Does it help tie some of these, tie some of these items together? And does this make sense, right? I'll go even one step further. I'll do a side by side. So you can really see, right, the changing not only in the verbiage, but I do believe it's similar, right? I've had some folks share in confidence that they truly didn't understand, the impacts and the purpose of their business. And some of them were managers, right, within their own company. So when I was talking to them about, advancing and reaching the next level, this really helped them connect the dots, right? They could understand that really, again, their brand, the market, the revenues, what roles were being posted were critical for them to understand. It wasn't just that they needed to understand theirs, right? And again, that can be an exercise in itself, but there was another side of it. How do you match up, right? And the last thing I'll say is also consider the fact that the company, circles, it's not a perfect clover leaf as well. Those size of circles can change based on the company life cycle. So it's absolutely critical that you understand where the company is and what the company is doing in regards to where they are in the market and what they are trying to accomplish within their time. Right now, great. I've described some things, but let's put this to practice. Say a person, and his name is Chad, is researching, career progression within a company. This again can also be used in just the pure job search, right? And let's say, they, let's say for this study, right, the again, the initiatives or so forth are super important, but as they're networking like they should be, right, and they're doing all the right things, they've got kind of their purpose, what their strengths are, and what roles on the other side, all right, within this area over here, right, that are being posted by the company and how that ties into the market and the revenues that they hope to make and their vision statement and the mission and so forth. Let's say they identify initiative 1, right? And again, the product and service is not too important, but they go, initiative 1 in interviewing, it sounds like the company's doing this. I don't know if that's for me, right? So they network some more. They find out that the company's doing this as well. And the initiative 2 sounds a little bit more like they're looking for. I can really tie that back to my strengths. I can see that, if I were in charge of blank, I could do this for for the foreseeable future, and the pay seems like the role that I would want. Same thing with 3, right? But let's say they get all the way and they identify either a 4th role, 4th initiative that they would be in charge of in this role, and it sounds like challenging. Definitely something that they could wrap their arms around, right? And that's what they truly want. And then in this sense, I mean, we can compare this to many instances where if we only got one side of this picture, right, you can see that out of all the initiatives, a preference would probably be 4, maybe 3, 2, 1 in reverse order, right? In the timeline of those engagements and so forth, sometimes that's not very clear. It's just who answered the phone or is willing to talk first. So it's important to get that prioritization, but you're missing the second half. And when discussing maybe with, a manager or higher, and they really understand the company, where they're trying to go, the key things is to understand where that investment is, right? In their product and services, their roles, where they're spending the money. And what they find out is maybe initiative 2 has the highest investment. 70% of the company's money is going into that initiative, and the roles that are being either created or expanded are for that. And the top people in those roles and in that division have pay increases between 3 to 5%, right? Well, that's pretty interesting. Well, what if they find out about another initiative 3, and they find more information? Only 10% of the investment there is there, and really the company is not looking to invest anymore. They're just looking to maintain that product or service or even that division, right? And the top folks in that pay group are only 1%, even though they're the top folks. Let's say that they go and find out about initiative 1, right? And this one's another one that the company just wants to maintain that product or service. It's not really getting a huge investment. In fact, it's only 5% of the overall business. And the folks, again, are only getting paid 1%. And this sometimes can be disillusional. But let's say that the initiative 4, right? The company is actually trying to reduce that. They're spending 5% of their investment, the customer investment today. They want to reduce that. No one's getting pay increases. In fact, any roles that are being opened are essentially being opened to sunset it. right? They need particular skills they may not have on the bench, but it's for sunsetting. And if this person, right, Chad, were to actually win the role for initiative 4, they could be looking at a layoff in 2 years, right? So this is why, again, not only in getting roles, but looking at your career, understanding where the company is going, what their purpose is, and what they're investing in, because you want that alignment not only with your personal purpose, but linking and align that with the company. So taking that in another way, right, to rearrange and say, all right, if initiative 2 was still on the good sheet, right, for Chad, if he connects the dots, he could be very successful. It matches up with his strengths, his passion, right, where he wants to be in his vocation. And if the pay is within the window or higher, right, everything lines up, and that's a good match. And again, it prevents him from going into initiative 4, because again, it could be an area that takes them into that downward spiral, and that's never good either, right? And what I'll say on this is that, this kind of is the secret sauce, and is maybe as funny as has been in the past, where I didn't have maybe all these bullet points and so forth. This has evolved over time, and it's really helped folks get alignment, not only in their career, but again, aligning their purpose for what they want to accomplish, right? So one big disclaimer on this slide, though, is stick to your purpose. If you feel like you're getting pulled into someone else's purpose or someone else or a job that you don't like, just because, again, you find out the company side, don't do it. It's going to lead you to misery, right? So again, only if that matches up. So great. Les, you showed me some stuff, some fancy diagrams. I think it makes some sense, right? I got the tools to maybe kind of do this, but how do I really leverage this, right? So what, right? I do believe that luck favors the prepared, right? It's not chance, it's focused change. And what I mean by that is, again, we see this, and this is an example I just pulled off the internet, probably the first one I saw, right? A company posting these things out. And again, we've seen this time and time again. You're probably looking at this, even your own companies, right? But hopefully you take this look now in a different way and say, okay, I kind of get this, but what does it also mean to use that diagram and say, all right, where do I fit in this? Does this a match? And if it matches, what you'll find is you'll probably be in that top 20%, right? That bottom 10% is probably on their way out, or looking on their way out, or going to get fired. The average performers, you don't want to be in. And I know that sounds funny to some, because again, that's probably, some folks look at that as job security. But again, at any given time, this fluctuates. And if we're truly adhering to what we're saying about getting paid for your purpose, then this should be, it's nothing wrong with being an average performer. Oftentimes you take on a role that's a stretch, great. But I think if you have the propensity, like most military folks do, to learn their trade, have pride in their work, you're going to become a top performer anyways. And to be quite honest, it's probably the work you've already put in, but you have misalignment with your purpose and the company. So you're putting in a lot of effort to be average, right? What I'm saying is to get that mix to not be average. Great. Again, so how do I leverage this knowledge, Les? What I want to put in front of you is, again, it's really pertaining to those slides and getting alignment. And what you'll see here is I pulled some statistics. They're a little bit older, but I didn't want the skewed statistics from COVID. Top performers, right, are getting paid 40%, 46% on average, right? The average rating, 27%, right? And salary increases. Well, here's some numbers. I just basically took those average points and did them year over year. And you can see 1 through 5 years. What you'll see at the bottom is just under a $6,000 difference in just 5 years, right? And you got to think, we worked for 40 plus years. So that's just a period in time, and you can just see the difference. And what I'm saying is that if you have alignment on your purpose, it really is a strength of yours. The company needs it, and you've been able to focus in. Your conversations are going to become much more stronger and so forth. This doesn't even account for promotions, additional businesses like spot bonuses, manager discretion bonuses, all of that, right? So again, this is the power of knowing how to align that first section in this presentation of your purpose and those components with the company. And here's the result of it, right? So, you know, if you truly are aligning your purpose and those different components that come with the role and so forth, maybe doing what you love will pay off, right? And guess what? I mean, I would love to make more money for the efforts that I'm just doing right now, right? So let me leave you with this. In closing, I would say always utilize your eco group resources. And as you can see, we help each other refine our action plans with, you know, a more focused approach on growing and reaching our full potential. So again, when it comes to being paid for a purpose, I think it's definitely possible, and even more so, something that is very realistic and tangible. And I hope everyone pursues it. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Les.